Barça! Barça! Barça!
Hello and welcome to Talk FCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. And of course, we're not done yet talking about this game, because that's what happens, when you win a game of this magnitude and in the way that we did, you just can't stop talking about it. And today we are going to be going through yet more El Clasico analysis, and I'm going to be showing you some things that you might have missed, some stats, some particular emphasis on a lot of players out there maybe who didn't get the immediate recognition, but it really was a phenomenal display right throughout that Barcelona team. And today we are going to be breaking that down, starting right here. I hope you enjoy it. Let's do this. And we are going to start first of all with the player influence, which I have spoken about in previous games, and I just want to take a particular look at this, because look at Alba, look at Busquets, look at Rakitic, look at that midfield once again. We saw it against Inter Milan. We are growing in terms of that midfield domination, and that's what we demand at Barcelona. And particularly without Lionel Messi, it's so good to see this system in place, because the players out there are very good players, and if you surround them in a competent system, they will perform even without the best player in the world. And that's what we've seen. We've seen massive influence in Jordi Alba, the same over the other side there from Sergio Roberto, but Busquets and Rakitic, Arthur as well, has all contributed to that midfield balance and that really dynamic core at the centre of that team that we can build everything from, has really contributed some excellent performances against Sevilla, against Inter, and now against Real Madrid, depending on that midfield, flooding the wider areas, stretching the pitch and dominating the ball. That is what gives you results, and that is what has given us this phenomenal display. And I want to start here by looking at the interceptions yesterday, of which Jordi Alba and Sergio Roberto were the two players on the pitch out of everybody with the most interceptions. And that really was an example of everything good that we did yesterday. It really was. Sergio Roberto had 5 interceptions, Jordi Alba with 6, and both fullbacks were so aggressive. They were really aggressive in the way they went about their jobs. They were pressing really high at the pitch, looking to get right in the face of Real Madrid, win the ball back as high at the pitch as they could, and then build from that. Once they got it back, once they turned it over, which as you can see here, they did several times, they really got at Real Madrid. And it all started with that determination and that desire to win that ball back, intercept it, and get straight at them. And we're going to speak more about Sergio Roberto in just a moment's time, but if we just focus here for a minute on Jordi Alba, because for me, in that first half in particular, he was absolutely sensational. The way that he went at Real Madrid was just fearless. He was fearless in his play, his pressing, getting in behind. He had endless box-to-box runs that we always see that kind of determination from Jordi Alba, and he really was getting at Nacho, annihilating him, absolutely destroying him. They saw a weakness and they went for it. It was ruthless play from Jordi Alba in Barcelona, and as you can see here, he was really effective in that final third. He completed the most attacking third passes out of any player on that pitch, 17 successful passes in that attacking third. But not only that, he also completed the most take-ons out of any player as well, 3 out of 3, a 100% success rate. And right now, his form, not only in this moment, but right throughout the season, you've got to give him massive credit. You have got to say, this man is as good as it gets. He is on fire right now. But these stats here for me are really interesting to look at and really break down, because this highlights the importance, if you ever doubted it before, of being clinical in front of goal, taking your chances, and most importantly, taking your chances when you're on top in the game. Because we had our moments yesterday, and so did Real Madrid, but only one team out there were ruthless in front of goal. Only one team out there took their chances when they were ahead, and that was simply Barcelona. Every single time that we were on top, we made it count. And you look here, the attacking chances created, 11 for Barca, only 10 for Real Madrid. Very little difference between the two, but like I say, we finished them off. In terms of big chances as well, 3 for us, 2 for Real. Very little between us, but we were the ones who were clinical when it really mattered, and that's when it comes down to your centre forward. Luis Suarez shone brightly, Karim Benzema didn't, and in the end, we are the ones who are celebrating. And of course, when you're looking for the man who created the bulk of those chances, look no further than Sergio Roberto, who for me was responsible yesterday for so much good going forward in that final third. He really was impressive, and he was responsible for 4 out of the 11 chances that created yesterday, and he really was everywhere on the pitch. Wherever you looked, Roberto Roberto was popping up, pressing, tackling, winning the ball back, bursting into the Real Madrid half. He was everywhere, and I thought it was a really interesting line actually came out after the match from Luis Suarez himself, who he said before the game, him and Sergio Roberto, they were discussing the 4-0 Clasico at the Bernabeu back in 2015 that we spoke before the game about as well, and he basically said to Sergio Roberto that he never seemed to get those kind of assists that he did in that game from Sergi anymore. He was saying, where are these kind of balls now? And here we are, back at it again. Sergio Roberto, when it matters most, when he was given an opportunity to get forward and get in those kind of areas that he can give those balls, Suarez was extremely grateful for it. He took the chances, and those two again, working brilliantly. And now I spoke about him yesterday in my analysis after the game of El Clasico, in particular in the goals. He was really key, but I want to discuss once again Ivan Rakitic, who I think was very impressive, and he often does save his very best displays for Clásicos, which is really important. He does perform on the big stage, and yesterday he completed the most passes out of any player, 65 out of 69, reaching their intended target, which gave him a 94% pass success rate, which is really impressive, especially in this kind of game when you're under so much pressure. To be that accurate is really good. But what was even more impressive for me yesterday was the way that he went about this game, the way that he went about those passes, and he did what we knew that he could do. We know that he can do this, that passing range, and most importantly, taking those risks and then paying off massively. 32 of those 65 passes were forward, and 12 of those coming in the final third. And that's what we have to see more from Rakitic. We've got to see him taking on those kind of balls, cutting defences apart, getting players in behind, because he can do that. He's got it in his locker, and we have to see it more, because the quality is there for everyone to see. And look, I could look at every player and give you something positive about everybody yesterday, really, but you have to talk about Sergio Busquets. So I'm not even going to use any stats to discuss what he did yesterday, because if you watched the game and you saw that performance from him, I don't need to show you anything. I don't need to show you anything. I don't need to illustrate anything. You know that when he plays like he did yesterday, nobody in the world can get near him. Nobody can stop him. Isco tried yesterday. He tried to press him. He tried to really close him down, and he failed. Simple as that. You try to press Busquets when he's in this kind of form, this kind of mood. He tried it once. He tried it twice. It does not happen. Busquets was always one step ahead of the game, and in a game of that magnitude, having somebody at the base of that midfield with such calmness, such composure, at the very base of your team, where you can really then stem everything from, it floods your midfield with confidence, it floods your entire team with confidence, and we built from that massive core that is Sergio Busquets. But finally, it is time to discuss King Arthur, who yesterday perhaps was overshadowed by the likes of Suarez, Roberto, Jordi Alba, Busquets, even Rakitic, but I have to draw attention here to the unbelievable influence this man has had on our entire team. And I'm not just talking about this game, I'm talking about a run of games which looked incredibly difficult on paper, but this man and the team have got us through those. Because in Arthur Melo, you have got a 22-year-old Brazilian midfielder signed in the summer with massive expectations on his shoulder, already similarities between himself and Xavi. He had to deal with that ever since he stepped through the door at the Camp Nou, and he'd never ever played in Europe before, and here he is, bossing Champions League matches, bossing El Clasico. You could not make that up. And for me, it's ever since that Tottenham game, where Valverde started him, perhaps to a bit of a surprise, and bang, we have never looked back from that moment. Arthur completely changed the dynamic of our midfield at Wembley, and Valverde has had no choice but to leave him in that team ever since. He gave us control at the Mestalla against Valencia, he helped us beat Sevilla, who were top of the league at the time, and he dominated Inter Milan's midfield and earned a standing ovation at the Camp Nou in the Champions League. And alongside Rakitic, Busquets, Modric, Kroos yesterday in El Clasico, he did not look out of place. He looked like he belonged amongst those kind of players. In fact, he's earned that right. In his performances recently, he has earned that right to stand shoulder to shoulder with some of the best names in world football in that midfield. And if he continues at this level and perhaps grows even further, maybe, just maybe, he could stand even taller. And just before we do end, guys, I want to discuss Gerard Piqué, and in particular, a moment in that second half where he really did demonstrate his leadership, his maturity, and just generally being a good guy in football. And the reason for that is, in the second half, there was a moment where the Camp Nou crowd really turned against Sergio Ramos. Obviously, when he comes to town with Real Madrid, he's public enemy number one, and to be honest, he's earned that. Some of the things that he says, some of the things that he does, they're not good in the slightest. But there was a moment where the crowd started chanting offensive things really against Sergio Ramos, and Gerard Piqué in the penalty area put his hand up, waved his finger as if to say, no, Please stop that. Don't do that. It's not good. He tried to stop the crowd from chanting against Ramos, and just looking at Piqué there, you've got to say, credit to him. That is what you want from a leader. That is something I think you would have seen maybe Carlos Puyol do when he was wearing the armband. And that's what I mean about Piqué. He's had some bad performances, but his love for this club, the love for his players, and just generally in football, he's a good guy. And recently, he has come back into form alongside Clement Longley. And for me, as the season goes on, I think as a partnership, we're going to see it flourish. We're going to see Umtiti return. And I think our defence is going to get better and better and better as the season goes on, which with our attack looking like it is only a good thing. So that is that from this El Clasico video, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the full weekend of uploads, and I've really enjoyed giving them to you. We've got a phenomenal result here, but after this now, the attention will turn to our Copa del Rey midweek fixture against a lower league opponent, and what we're going to do in that game, hopefully, is see some B-team players, some promising talent, and that in itself is something to look forward to. I will see you then, guys, for those uploads. But until then, as always, Visca El Barça!